Daniel Cormier.
Dricus, thank you for checking in with me again, man. As always, I appreciate it. Guys, I'm here with the middleweight champion, Dricus Du Plessis. The middleweight champion. That has to be music to your ears because so many didn't think that you could do that when everything you put on paper showed that you were just about to do that. But for some reason, people were so late to jump on board. How good does it feel to get to where you knew you would get, but so many questioned whether or not you could?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I've dedicated my whole life to this sport, like so many others. I mean, anybody, I believe, that's in the UFC has dedicated their life to this sport. And to be at the pinnacle of it and being a champion is, I mean, it's amazing for myself and you know, for South Africa to fight as a proud sporting nation. We love to go out and being the first South African wearing that flag and being able to do my country proud, my people, my team, my friends, the family that's been there through all these years, believing in my dream. It's the most amazing feeling, and you know, I'm very, very happy.
So many people may have questioned Dricus, even though the work showed you were getting here. Those people in your corner never ever doubted whether or not you would ultimately get to where you're going. Okay, so we go back to Canada, right? You're fighting Sean Strickland. And it is Sean Strickland, so there's a lot that comes with it. But you were able to stay in the moment. You were able to stay within yourself under some pretty unique circumstances, right? From all the things that he says to the way that he fights. But in that fight, you showed once again why you're the best in the world, because it was your pace, it was your pressure. And in those moments where, and this is what I said in the fight, and I'm not walking it back, when you were putting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Sean wasn't really matching that effort and intensity. Did you know that would be what separated you from him to become the champion? Because in Sean Strickland fashion, I won the fight, I thought I won, but it didn't seem that off to me, because it seemed like you were the guy putting in the effort.
Yeah, I mean, the way I looked at it, and obviously after that first round, he was landing the jab and he was doing, you know, what he does best. And the mistake I made in that first round was I took the jab, and the jab is spot on. He throws that jab the way he throws it, it lands, but it wasn't a jab that I went, that rocks me. I just thought, you can hit me all night with this jab. I'm walking through it, and I'm going to land my shot.
Yeah.
Because the straight, I wasn't concerned about it. I just knew the jab. So by the third minute of this first round, I started seeing my own eye just a little bit swollen.
Yeah.
And I realized, this is small gloves. Even though the shot's not hurting me, it's your face is going to be hurt anyways.
Yeah.
So I had to make that adjustment. I can't just walk through this jab, but the constant pressure, because one thing when we studied the Sean fight, his gas tank is that of somebody that can fire when he's walking forward, when he's dictating pace, when he's got you baiting to the feint, when he baits you and you're feinting for every shot, because it's just touching. And I knew when you're going backwards, and he's a volume striker. Mm-hmm. He's not a hard puncher, he's a volume striker. So for a volume striker to go backwards and strike with volume, it's not going to be, it's basically impossible. You know, walking backwards and just throwing volume, it's not going to work. So that was the plan with a guy like Strickland, because he's a bully in terms of when he fights. You know, he almost, and you see it in his fights, he always talks to his opponent. Once he starts getting off, once he starts catching them, walking forward, and he sees them kind of being tired and, you know, trying to catch a break, that's when he starts talking to them. He didn't say one single word to me while we were fighting. Not
because
once.
You were able to...
Because I was the bully in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was what won me that fight. And if you go look at the stats, it was 23 minutes of me going forward in that fight.
Yeah.
And 2 minutes of him. So a fight that closely contested on the feet, even though I had more kicks, he had more jabs, he had more higher strikes that landed. But if you go on damage, I wasn't cut. My face looked pretty bad. And just in terms of kicks, in terms of mixing it up and being scored as an MMA fight, the takedowns were not something that I didn't want to fight this fight on the ground. It wasn't that. It was to make sure I'm winning that round.
So you become the champion, and everybody that has a pulse starts to look forward to what we are at right now. You and Adesanya. right? Because when you beat Robert Whittaker, you guys had a very, very uncomfortable interaction inside the octagon. There have been some uncomfortable rivalries in the UFC, right? Where at times you look away like, I don't know if I feel comfortable with this, right? It was Habib and Conor, at times got very bad. Jones and myself, at times got very bad. But then when we watched this one, it got a bit uncomfortable because of what it's rooted in is something much bigger, or at least it seems that it's much bigger than the sport. Was that uncomfortable to you to be in there with Izzy, having that interaction, and then knowing after you became the champ, I'm probably going to get to fight this dude and put an end to all of this at least?
I don't think it was never uncomfortable for me when he got into the octagon with the Robert Whittaker fight. I saw that as a big win because he made himself uncomfortable. It was me standing there watching that video afterwards. I just went, his team is definitely telling him, "What are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that." It was an emotional reaction from his side, 100%.
Yeah.
So
why do you think though? Do you think at that moment you became real? Because you beat Robert Whittaker, you became like a real threat. Do you think that's why he reacted in that way?
Absolutely. You have to think that is the case because every fight, it was Robert Whittaker. While you're fighting Izzy, you lose to Izzy, you fight Whittaker. This way it was the other way. This time it was the other way around. So Whittaker was his gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Because fighting Robert Whittaker again, he knows he beats Whittaker. Now he's got to deal with me, who did beat Robert Whittaker in very spectacular fashion. So I think that definitely played a role. And and you don't know in what mind state he was. You know, we all like to have a good time. We don't know if he had a couple of too many. I'm not really sure. But at the end of the day, that was fine. And as far as the whole situation being uncomfortable, it's not for me. And I don't think it should be. I think the media loves the fact that they could make it that way.
Yeah.
They could create a narrative, which there isn't.
Yeah.
So your boy's hot boy summer is coming to an end. I've been traveling all around the world, but no matter the stress or the situation, Vaya had the boy elevated through it all. I just had to let y'all know too, because the gummies are game changers. I sleep better. I can relax well, even my back pain, because after all the fighting, all the surgeries, the boy be hurting. Vaya's organic flour is of the highest quality. It's free of pesticides or any of those nasty chemicals. So personally, I love the Vaya gummies. They're THC and THC free gummies. Awesome. The Dream Sleep gummies, though, they be having the boy knocked out, snoring. Those are my go-tos. So if you're 21 or older, check out the link to Vaya in our description and use the code DCTV. We'll give you 15% off. And after you purchase, they'll ask you what you heard about them. So please support my show and tell them that I sent you. Prioritize your recovery and enhance your everyday with Vaya. It sure got the boy DC living life floating.
He seems to be, there seems to be a narrative, and it's all rooted in the fact that you said, I'm the first true African champion. Or at least, and what you were saying was that you're the guy that stayed there, you lived there, you trained there. But Usman and those guys, I saw an article where you did say you guys were very proud that they were African champions. Absolutely. But you are saying what you're saying rooted in the fact that you stayed in Africa while training?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, there was a first African-born champion. And then there was 3 African-born champions. But there was also a first African residing champion, and that was me. And that is the fact.
I thought you would have walked that back. I swear to God, when it all turned crazy, I thought you'd have walked that back. I thought you'd have said, I don't know if I like this, but you've kind of steered into it.
100%, because, I mean, as soon as that happened, anybody with a sensible mind could see what was being said, other than clickbait, other than trying to make something out of nothing. And, other than saying something that, I remember when Usman commented on this statement.
Many guys commented on it.
Usman was actually the first guy to, because this happened weeks after I've said this.
Yeah.
And Usman, he was the first to be asked about it, and he commented on it. And when he commented on this at a presser, I could hear that he's never seen the video. I could hear he was, and he said this, I'm more African. He said, I've never said more African. And you're less of an African, or you are not African. Never said those words. I could hear that's what that was what he took from it. So I could hear that he was told by someone, this is what Dricus said. He never went to go watch the video. I don't know if you have watched it ever since, because with that context of watching the video, you'd understand what I was trying to say and what I did say. And so I think, with that narrative and with Adesanya, I think right now he's using that narrative to fuel him. I think that's what's fueling him.
I've seen that quite a few things that you've talked about, the fire in Adesanya not being as bright as it once was, or not burning as hot as it once was. Is it just in the Strickland fight that you see that he's not the same guy, or is there something before or something you see from Izzy that makes you feel this strongly about his mindset as he's on the verge of trying to become a 3-time UFC champion? No, not many people have done that in the UFC history.
Yeah, listen, Israel Adesanya, in terms of his record, legacy, and what he's done in the sport, it's undeniable. He's one of not only the greatest middleweights, but one of the greatest UFC fighters ever. He's in that GOAT tier. And there's nothing that's going to be taken away from that. Mm-hmm. It was not the Strickland fight. I thought it was. I thought it was the Strickland fight, and then I fought Strickland. Yeah. And then I realized it wasn't an off night. It was Strickland enforcing that bully game plan that we talked about. Yes. That was what it was. When I fought Strickland, and I realized how hard it for an Izzy being a sniper that is, he couldn't land those sniping shots. And it's frustrating fighting Strickland, especially when he's coming forward. And then I realized he didn't have an off night. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was just Strickland who did his job perfectly. And I said in a couple of interviews today that I'll be willing to take back the fact that I said he lost his fire. I just think in comparison to mine.
Yes. Okay. So earlier you spoke about you being a bully against Sean Strickland with Israel Adesanya. If you are too much of a bully, it would seem to open up opportunities for him because he's such a sniper, because he's so good at countering. How do you approach that fight, though? Because it seems as though it's a complete flip as to what you had to do last fight, but that flip doesn't seem to be your game. Your game, while people might not say it's as appealing because of the way you do different things, it's very effective.
Well, the performance bonus is to speak otherwise of appealing, but...
No, I'm saying like you do different things, right?
Yeah,
that's the wrong word, but like you punch, or you do different types of takedowns. You do different things. And we spoke about this before the interview started, like just because it looks different to you doesn't mean it's not right.
Yeah, and 100%, like you say, I'm fighting two completely different fighters.
Yeah.
But I mean, before I fought Whittaker, who is the exact opposite of a Strickland. He's a blitz fighter.
Yep.
Then I fought Strickland, who is fights the way he does. Now I'm fighting Adesanya, who's a completely different fighter to that. He's taller. He likes to be on the outside. But the pressure is not on me to come and perform. The pressure is on him to say, what are you going to do different than in your last fight? Yeah. If we go on last fights only, what are you going to do? So with Israel Adesanya, 100%, being that bully fighter, that's not my game necessarily. My game is to fight the guy in front of me and neutralizing his game. Yeah. And if I'm going to stand, talking about being a bully too much, I'm not going to stand in range and pick shots with Israel Adesanya. It's obvious that's not the plan. That's not what would be the smartest way to fight this guy. Because first he has a longer reach than me, leg reach and arm reach. And that's his game, pointing it out 5 rounds. That's the way he decides to fight, I need to apply my plan to counter that. Yeah. If he wants to almost, let's say, reinvent himself, come in and say, the old Adesanya's back, I'm coming in guns blazing, then we're fighting into my territory. Yeah. And that's him trying to prove something to himself and to the world, I think. And that plays into my game, which is great. If he tries to shoot on me, we don't know. We saw that with Alex Pereira.
He took him down and he controlled him on the mat.
So did Alex to him.
Yeah. But you've also wrestled and
And I mean, also now, he said quite a while ago, maybe I take my next opponent down and submit him. So there's a whole world, and it's the unknown. That's what makes any fight
so fun,
so scary. Almost if you go there, you don't know what this guy's going to do.
Yeah.
It takes a round or so to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so regardless of his game plan, I am going to need, because everybody has a plan, but you know, once the fight starts, it changes like that, because unfortunately you have to react to what your opponent's bringing.
Do you think that with all this anger that he has built up and the emotions tied to the fight, that he will be more aggressive? Because the last time we saw him that aggressive or that angry was against Paulo Costa. And do you take a little bit of joy out of it? Because I saw an interview today where you said, he says I'm spoiled, but this man had people bathe him until you're lying. That's a lie, Dricus.
I just saw the article.
He had somebody bathe him till he was 8 years old, is what you said.
I saw that. I saw an article, and since everybody believes everything they read on the internet,
Well, that would be a big flip, because I didn't know Israel had people bathe him till he was 8 years old.
I saw the article. I'll show you the article. So I mean, I can only do what this is where I get my information.
You're like Ben Askren. Ben Askren just follows everything on Twitter, and if it's on Twitter, it's true for him. I don't know that. I'm gonna have to ask him if it's true. But do you take joy in that, though, knowing that you kind of turned him up to a different place where you're like, okay, I am still, because you don't seem to be like emotional at all about it.
No, I'm not emotional at all about this. This is another fight. If Israel Adesanya had to pull out of this fight, it would be the exact same to me in fighting anybody else. If he had to pull out today, I would be the exact same person getting in there than the one you're going to see on Sunday.
Yeah.
And for me, that is what this is about, is keeping emotion out of this. I don't get emotional. I get emotional about one thing, and that's the accomplishment. I don't get emotional about whatever he says does. It doesn't matter to me. I have a goal, I have a fight to win, I have a title to defend. And that is what it's about for me. So yeah, getting me to act emotional is probably a good win for me. Like, you know, Strickland did the same thing.
Yeah.
But you know, he's a champion for a reason, and was a champion for so long for a very good reason. I would say he probably has the right people around him to keep his mentality where it needs to be, and almost keep him at bay.
So many people are interested, though, because you guys are great fighters, but also the backdrop. The backdrop does draw people. And I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't know if, as you said, all this other stuff, the race, there's like a lot of race. They're trying to bring race into it. I've got family, and they're like, man, I don't like this Dricus Du Plessis because we're black. And it's like, because they're buying into the narrative that has been put out in front of them. They don't know you. I know you. You're a great guy, nice guy. And you actually sit with me, even though I've been very hard on you. I'm done now, though. I tell you one thing, I'm done. I am fucking done questioning you, bro.
I've listened to a lot of things you said, and I've actually taken some of it to heart and actually started working on some of those things. And I'm glad I could.
Well, you flipped me. You flipped me because I was like, he's good, man. I was telling him, I was like, he's really good. I was like, he's really good. I mean, he's champion of the world, so it's been awesome. Last thing before I let you go. What does this fight look like on Saturday or Sunday morning? And do you anticipate having like the crowd in your corner? Last time Izzy fought here in Australia, they cheered Sean Strickland instead of Izzy. Do you think, I know South Africa is not very far from here, do you think that you'll have the crowd in your corner? What do you think the fight looks like?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think, you know, I've grown so used to being booed, walking out and being cheered by the end of the fight that, you know, maybe that's the case again. It's, but, you know, as long as there's noise, that's what I need. And you know, there's a lot of South Africans coming to this fight. There's a lot of South Africans in Perth and in Australia. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know if I'll be a crowd favorite. I'm not willing to say that, but I mean, it's going to be great. I mean, it's going to be an amazing event. I know you can feel the atmosphere in the town, in Perth. You know, walking around here, people know who I am in Perth.
They love fighting.
People love fighting. They know about the event. The event sold out like that. People are looking for tickets everywhere. Yeah, it's going to be a special event, and this is one of the biggest fights.
How do you beat Izzy? How does the fight end?
I finished Izzy in the third round.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I know he said he's coming out for that first round finish. So, I mean, if that's the case, I think we are playing right into my field, and I'll be ready for that.
My man. Thank you for checking in with me again. Guys, Dricus Du Plessis takes on Israel Adesanya this weekend at UFC 305 for the middleweight championship of the world. Follow him on everything that he does. Hey, Dricus Du Plessis or Dricus? Dricus Du Plessis. That's what fucking Chael was saying. But Chael never says names right.
Yeah, but Chael
he confused me. He did say Du Plessis.
And even he got the name perfect. He's like, yeah, Dricus Du Plessis.
Yeah, he
I got
never
the name
says.
right. I'm like, no, you didn't.
He never says names right. So I was when he said Dricus, I started saying Dracus. I was like, he has to be saying it wrong.
Dricus.
Because he always says Dricus Du Plessis fight this weekend, guys. Make sure you tap in everything he does. Do you have a YouTube channel?
No.
No YouTube, but get him on Instagram, X, not even Facebook. He's a young guy, so I'm pretty sure he doesn't use
I
it.
have Facebook.
You have Facebook?
Yeah.
All right, follow him
I
on
was
Facebook.
The last
Generation to get Facebook. Okay, so he was the last generation of Facebook. Get Drake.
MySpace.
Dricus. MySpace. Dricus got MySpace. Guys, he got it all. Guys, until next time, like, subscribe, and tell your friends about my YouTube channel. And I got guys like Dricus Du Plessis checking in with me. Until next time, peace.